Welcome back to Through the Trapdoor. I'm Emily.
And I'm Katie.
And this is our podcast where we read you Harry Potter fan fiction. I feel like I just need to remember to speak loudly.
Yeah. I need to remember to control my volume, so I'm one volume at all times, not sometimes shouty.
I feel like it'll be better with the new placement of the microphone because we're a little bit further away today.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Yeah. So if I'm a little bit shouty, it's not that bad.
Yes. All right. Today we're reading Chapter 5. Harry, that's not an owl.
And if that line doesn't get delivered by Hermione,
I will be disappointed.
Yep. I'll take Ron.
Ginny would also be acceptable, I guess.
Yeah. It must be one of those three.
Yeah. Anyone else, I'll be disappointed.
Exactly.
Over toast the next morning, Harry eyed Broomstick speculatively. I'm going to talk about a person, because if you were a therapist, we'd spend a lot of time on this person. His name's Draco Malfoy. Andromeda wants to meet him, which probably means I'll need to re-meet him at some point. Broomstick hooted sharply. He sounded outraged. Harry approved. Good. That's about right. Lots of strong emotions.
I just love that he named this owl Broomstick. It's
I know.
Still just my favorite.
It's great. Broomstick hooted again. Harry took a deep breath. He was a Death Eater, right? Which wasn't entirely his fault, but he was also a Git. See? Which was. And I nearly killed him, and he saved my life. Probably. And he made a bunch of stupid badges in 4th year, and I had a bit of a sexuality crisis.
Oh!
Broomstick blinked and hooted weakly. I know, right? He was a massive, pureblood horror. But he was also really, really fit.
Uh-oh.
Harry looked at the owl for reassurance. Here, yes, I'll move the mouse and the keypad for you. Now you can get up there. Come on. You know, up here. There you go. Lay down. Do you have tape on your foot? Where did you find tape? Lay down.
I know one of our favorite recording buddies is here, and we found a couch now. We have a couch now.
Yes.
We're not just sitting in computer chairs. So now he's sitting on the chair that we have in front of us that had the microphone on it originally, but now we've moved the microphone to a much better location.
I ordered a microphone stand. However, the holder for the microphone itself did not come when it was supposed to.
Rude.
So the microphone's just sitting on a tiny little, table in between us. Again, but we've got a couch, so progress.
So much better.
Making progress. This couch is super comfy.
It really is.
Harry looked at the owl for reassurance, and it responded with a sound like an owl pellet regurgitation would be imminent. Harry wrinkled his nose. If you need to go outside or take care of that, I can keep muttering to myself about Malfoy. It wouldn't be the first time.
Oh, man.
Broomstick squawked sickly, but kept his place. 5th year, I could hardly stand to watch Quidditch, partly because I couldn't play, and partly because Malfoy's uniform trousers were making me question my worldview. Harry pushed up his glasses. Physical attraction didn't really trump all those awful personality traits, though. Broomstick hooted some more, and Harry patted him absent-mindedly. The owl was quite good at filling the pauses. And there were some girls I liked, and then people started dying, and him being involved with that was much more important than the fact that I liked his face and sometimes his snark, when it wasn't racist or gendered or pureblood shit.
Oh, Harry, you like the bad boy.
Harry ran his hand through his hair. The fact that I could have liked him just kind of made me hate him more. I hated a lot of things those last few years of school.
Well, to be fair, the last few years of school were kind of rough for you.
Yeah, you were kind of almost murdered a lot.
You were banned from your favorite thing ever, Quidditch.
Mm-hmm.
Your mentor died in front of you while you were under an invisibility cloak after going into a cave with him.
Yep. That sounds super sexual.
Yeah. Oh my god. And then a war broke out.
Yeah, and you were on the run for almost an entire year.
So, fair.
Mm-hmm.
You're allowed to be kind of pissed.
Yeah.
You were also the worst ages possible. Like, peak puberty.
Yep.
Going through all of this shit.
Yeah. I don't think I could handle it now as, like, an adult. I couldn't imagine doing it as, like, a teenager.
No.
That'd be horrible. Harry put his head on the table. To a degree, he was just doing what his father said to. And I was just doing what Dumbledore said to. And wishing that he was my father. Harry scratched at Broomstick's chest. And the owl held still just as he had for Teddy. Was it a bit more than that, though? Doesn't take a genius to figure out you shouldn't torture people. Broomstick hooted softly. Yeah, I know, Voldemort moved into his house. Could you imagine? He was too far in at that point. Do I think that he should have done something dramatic and heroic and got himself killed? Kinda. Harry shook his head. But on one side was his family and not getting them painfully dismembered. And on the other was a bunch of people who'd never liked him very much anyway. Harry buried his head in his arms, and Broomstick nipped his ear softly. Harry could feel the tears burning. Hedwig did that, he mumbled, and Broomstick groomed his hair instead, and Harry let the tears fall. So see, I'm very conflicted about Draco Malfoy, and I'd really like to see him to be a perfect, happy, sunshine person that I know he's not. But even then, I'd like him to be far, far away. And Broomstick made soft sounds and untangled his hair. Harry cried until he felt dry and rattly inside.
That's a lot of tears.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever cried that much.
I think I maybe have one time, and even then, it was like days of crying.
Yeah. Well, it seems like Harry cries a lot in this story.
Yeah, that's true.
Which, I mean, he's gone through a lot, so.
He really, really has gone through it.
Finally, he stood up and washed his face and went outside to fly for a bit. Broomstick was flying really well now. His wings seemed almost completely healed, and he seemed to be getting a lot of joy from diving drastically at the ground and pulling up at the last minute. Harry grinned. I still think that's how you got hurt. Hermione visited in the afternoon. Her brown eyes were a bit dull. She hadn't been sleeping well either. But she smiled when she saw the owl. You got a new owl! Harry winced but forced a smile in return. Not really. I found him in the yard with a broken wing. He just doesn't seem quite ready to go home yet. The owl looked at Hermione and fluttered a wing. Well, maybe you should think about keeping him. Harry pursed his lips. Hermione raised her hand. Just a suggestion. It's good to have company, and he might not have anywhere to go. Hermione looked at the owl again. He's a very nice owl, isn't he? Then she frowned. Harry, you said you found him in the yard? Harry nodded. Why? Hermione shot a sharp look at the owl, then shrugged. Oh, nothing. She puttered to Harry's fridge and praised him for having groceries, then turned and asked far too innocently, How's your herb garden doing? We'll go have a look, shall we? She practically dragged him out. Harry, she hissed, do you remember how many anti-owl charms you put up? Harry nodded. The fan mail had been unbearable. He'd set up a very select list of people who could owl him. Hermione was still looking at him meaningfully. What? She threw her hands up. How in the world did that owl end up in your yard then? I guess it's not a post owl. I know you think I should get another owl, but look, just because it's not coming from someone doesn't mean it doesn't already have a home. That logic is, she shook her head, not even the issue right now.
Oh, Hermione.
She curled her hands into fists and paced in tight circles. Harry watched for a minute, then interrupted her, muttering, Well, what is it? Harry, Hermione growled. You don't read anything I give you, do you? She rolled her eyes. Don't even answer that. The spell specified that a side effect would be preventing wild owls and even birds of prey from entering your property. That's why you've been having so many problems with rabbits in your garden. Really, Harry? Harry cocked his head. I thought they were moles. His brain kept spinning. Wait! Harry stared at Hermione. You're saying that owl's not an owl? Harry whisper screeched. Hermione, I've been spilling my guts to this bird all week. We'll have to catch it, Hermione said firmly. If it's a person, it shouldn't be able to be someone who's not on your approved list. It could just be a cat transfigured by accidental magic. Harry mentally ran over his list of approved visitors. The owl's silvery eyes, its prissiness. He groaned. No, I think it's a person. What? Who? Harry? Harry groaned again. It was a split-second decision, and you're gonna think it sounds stupid, but I may have added Narcissa and Draco Malfoy. He mumbled.
You would, Harry. You would. You would have added them.
Yep.
Why? They're your, literally arch nemesis. I know you're clearly in love with Draco, but come on, dude.
That's just who he is.
Oh, I mean, but it is the cousin and aunt of your godson. And if they ever happened to become family again.
Plus, Narcissa did kind of,
Totally save Harry's life.
Hermione whipped her head to the house. I'm assuming you think that's Narcissa? Harry's fury was rising. I told him I had a crush on him when I was 14. Hermione stared at him for a second. So you're bi. Then shook her head. Not important right now. Get to the window. Harry nodded shortly, then turned just as a white blur sped from the open window. Owls have really good ears, don't they? Hermione said softly. Harry shouted at Jinx reflexively, but it missed, and he didn't try again. Harry didn't think he could stand to curse Broomstick out of the air, even if it was Draco Malfoy. So he went inside and slammed the door, and didn't acknowledge Hermione when she gently opened it and slid into the seat opposite at the table. They sat in silence while Harry did his breathing exercises. He really didn't like his temper much. He helped me redecorate, Harry said suddenly, and Hermione stared at him. The sofa, he waved at it. Hermione nodded gently. It is much better. I know, Harry growled. And the curtains? He hooted until it was something he liked. I was an idiot for thinking it was an owl. Hermione blinked. Well, it's not necessarily nefarious, actually, she sounded surprised. What in the world is he doing here, then? You said he was hurt. Yes, well, he probably wouldn't have broken his wing on purpose. He could have left a few days ago. Harry slumped. He didn't bite Teddy.
Oh.
Hermione nodded again. All right. She paused. He met Teddy? He was kind of fascinated with the pictures. Harry buried his head in his hands. I just thought he liked the movement. I'm an idiot. Hermione patted his shoulder awkwardly. Well, Again, it's not particularly bad, and he would have found out about Teddy that way, right? And you said he didn't bite him. Harry nodded miserably. Teddy got egg salad on him. Hermione patted his shoulder again, like that made sense. He groomed my hair when I was sad, Harry whispered, and I said I wouldn't keep him, but I probably would have if he was an actual owl. Hermione got up and hugged him. They had tea, and Hermione flued someone at the ministry, because looking things up was what she did. Okay, then. They sent back a note that Malfoy was a registered barn owl animagus, and had finished the process the day he crash-landed in Harry's yard. So it probably was an accident. Hermione shrugged. He would have been new to flying, quite likely. Oh. Harry thought there was probably part of him that wanted Malfoy to have been trying to find him. The end of chapter 5.
That was kind of cute.
That was a very cute chapter.
Yeah. But also at the same time, dude.
Harry. Spilling your guts.
To an owl that is Draco Malfoy, but you named Broomstick.
I still don't agree with the name Broomstick, but all of his other options were even worse.
So much worse. So Broomstick is the only acceptable option.
I mean, he gave Hedwig such a nice name.
I know. He found it in a magic book and everything.
All right, well, I guess we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on our journey through the trap door.
Please leave us a review on Facebook or iTunes. It would literally mean the world to us.
It really would.
You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Through the Trapdoor 16 or on Twitter at The Trapdoor.
And please send us an email at throughthetrapdoor16@gmail.com with any story suggestions. And as always, join us again next Saturday as we travel through the trapdoor.